Okay, so I'm texting with a client earlier, and she is someone who is currently on a program. She's done several programs in the past, right? She's a great lady, has a good sense of humor, and she makes a comment that's self disparaging. We're talking about, what has changed, if anything, in the program. And she says something to the effect of, well, I'm obviously a repeat customer. LOL, emoji, emoji. And I texted her back. I'm like, well, you're also a repeat customer with your dentist. You're also a repeat customer with your accountant. You're a repeat customer with your, presumably, uh, with your car. You're a repeat customer in a lot of ways, in a lot of places. And the reason for that is because things take upkeep, especially material things that are made of matter, right? Like our bodies. Our bodies are made of matter. So, of course, it requires upkeep and maintenance. And I realize that there's an expectation that people have that won't be the case in regards to weight loss. Maybe they have that expectation in regards to their teeth also. I don't know. But there's a desire to have things be one and done. The problem with that is it's a violation of natural law. The way things are in this universe is that things that are made of matter take maintenance, require maintenance, require upkeep. Not everyone's great at upkeep. A lot of people fight against it. A lot of people have a desire to not have to upkeep things. And those people, to that degree, are not accepting reality. So, to that degree, they are insane. I am including myself in this. I have several things in disrepair right now because of failure to upkeep to the degree that they should be upkept. It's an interesting thing how the universe could be one way and our desires could be another way. And sometimes we behave more in accordance with our desires than we do with what is actual and real. If you are resisting this point, please realize that your body is matter. And as matter, it does require maintenance. It does require upkeep. If you have the thought in your head that's really a desire, the thought that says, I'm going to be done with it. I can do a program and then I'm good for the rest of my life. You're fooling yourself. That's actually not the case. That's not how it works. That's not how any of it works. Your car is not going to work like that. If you stop brushing your teeth, you're likely going to get cavities. The nature of matter is that it decays and degenerates, and it goes into a worse state if nothing is done. It's very much a natural law. It follows inertia. There is a momentum aspect. If you do the required maintenance, the required upkeep, then you will be fine. You will create that momentum. But if you resist it, it will go the opposite way of how you want it to go. And that was what I was trying to impart to this young lady named Sandra. Sandra, if you're listening, I'm talking to you. I sometimes call Sandra Sarah just because it irritates her. Because she's not Sarah, that's her friend. But I think this is a really important point. Okay, and I did want to say it. Listen, I wasn't going to bother anybody today. I was like, well, it's Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day. By the way, I have a thought about that as well. And let's just let things lie. But then this happened, and I feel like I had to say something. Here's another example of the point I'm trying to make. It's a little different, right? But it follows the same kind of a rule. I have another client who I just texted. I asked her if she received her package. I was sending her a package. She desperately wants to start a program. She says she has not received it yet. I sent it last Wednesday. It should have gotten to her several days ago. Now, I hate the fact that she has not gotten her package. There was a screw up somewhere USPS did not do their job, right? But I understand intellectually that not everything is perfect and follow-up is necessary. I have to take a little time now and follow up. I have to look up the number. I have to see where the package is, maybe make a call. I don't know. But it is another law of the universe. So things that are not scrutinized, things that are not followed through on, something will happen. Things cannot always go perfectly, right? So it's a matter of caring for things. It's a big burden of responsibility when we're talking about upkeep, when we're talking about follow up, when we're talking about these things that we know to do intellectually, but we hate the idea of. If I send a package, damn it, it should get there the next day. That was my expectation. And it didn't happen. And it's a holiday weekend. Oh crap. I can track it, but I can't even get anything done today on it. So this is just another example of it. So there is a liberation that comes with acceptance of things that we want to resist at a gut level. I don't like that things are like this. And I don't know why I'm so entitled. That I know that I have to upkeep my car and I don't want to. I don't want the expense. I don't want the inconvenience. I don't want any of it. And yet it's built into the pie. Now, obviously, there are some people who are able to arrange their lives so they get to do less of it, right? They're very good at making money. They can hire it out and they could have someone else take responsibility and handle their material possessions. Even to some degree, the body, to some degree, I would argue it does always still take responsibility of the owner. But I did want everyone to kind of learn this lesson or relearn this lesson, right? I've probably not said anything original in my 10 plus years doing this. But I've said a lot of things that are true. So ultimately, we hope that they get in for the preacher as well as for the preachees, as well as for the congregation. Okay. I said that I would make a comment about Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day. It can be a little confusing, right? In New Jersey, we still celebrate Columbus Day. It is called Columbus Day. It is both a federal and a state holiday. Many of you know this. Your children are not going to school. You can't go to the bank. I just mentioned the U.S. Post Office, Postal Service. So it is Columbus Day. However, in some jurisdictions, apparently in some states or counties or cities, they have renamed it to Indigenous Peoples Day. Okay. So this is kind of a cultural trend that's going on. Why this cultural trend? Well, Columbus wasn't necessarily a nice guy. He came over here from Spain. He murdered Indians, apparently. I don't know all that much about Columbus and what he did, but there wasn't always a lot of compromise. There was violence. There was stealing of land. So some people have said, why are we honoring this guy? And that's true also of Civil War generals who are on the other side. I mean, that's the trend that I'm talking about. All right. It's we've looked back and we've said, why are we honoring some people who were not necessarily good people? And then, of course, there's been pushback to that because, well, yes, Columbus was not perfect, but who is? Right? Let he who has never sinned cast the first stone. And it's become part of our culture, our history. People making this argument. right? Columbus Day in particular has become, a cultural thing for Italian Americans, of which there are plenty in New Jersey. Statues that have been taken down in the South in the United States, those generals, even though they were on the other side, they were adjudicated to be traitors, they were still part of the culture of the South. I think Columbus Day, this Columbus Day, Indigenous People Day, I think this is a reasonable compromise. I came to this conclusion while I was watching, or while I was thinking about the Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians, right? It's the same kind of a thing. The Cleveland Guardians were called the Cleveland Indians for years. Was it wrong to call them the Cleveland Indians? Yes, probably. I would not want to watch a team called the, Brooklyn Jews, or, choose your own demographic. It was wrong to do it initially. But the Cleveland Indians have a rich history. Baseball fans know this, right? Bob Feller played for the Indians, and Willie Mays made his famous catch against the Indians. But they are not the Indians anymore. Now they are the Guardians, and it's this same kind of tension. Good, change the name. Yeah, Indians or Native Americans were offended by the name, so it was changed, and that was right. On the other hand, because it had become part of the culture of Cleveland's fans, they were offended by that. And other people were offended who had gotten used to it. So this points to the fact that there's really nothing that can be done in the public sphere that doesn't affect something else, but which is another natural law that we fight against, seemingly. Right? It comes down to physics. I mean, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And that plays out in the culture and in politics. Clubbing baby seals is horrifying. Right? We've heard about this. But that has become part of the culture and part of the way that certain people make a living. And believe it or not, they want to hold on to that. So I think this is another example where we don't necessarily want to accept natural law. We want to push back against it. But that is natural law, that there is a push and pull when it comes to any decision, any change that's made in the public sphere. So it's funny how, in a sense, that issue kind of relates to what I was talking about before with maintenance and upkeep. Because in choosing a side, in choosing a point of view, we're not necessarily accepting the reality of it. Right? In desiring to not have to upkeep and maintain the body and other possessions, we are resisting a natural law, the way things are. In choosing a side when it comes to these kind of cultural issues, we are also ignoring a natural law, which is that no matter what decision is made, there's going to be an impact. And some people will not like it. And it doesn't mean that those people are right or wrong, but that's the way that things are. So I personally think that it's a reasonable compromise, in a sense that nowadays people have a choice about what to call this day. You want to call it Columbus Day, call it Columbus Day. It is still a state holiday in New Jersey. It is still, as far as I know, a federal holiday. I don't even know if the federal government accepts Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm not sure. But people have a right to do that. If you want to honor instead of the colonizer, if you want to honor the colonizee, fine, do it. It's perfectly reasonable and acceptable. But in the meantime, we've called it Columbus Day for what, 150 years, right? So I think again, that's a good compromise. And whichever day you are celebrating, whichever side of the dispute you are supporting, you get to take a day off work. Some of you. So enjoy it. Okay. That's really all I have to say about that. I hope this was beneficial in some way. I hope it provokes some thought that we'll be forwarding. If you believe it did, let me know. If you believe it did not, you can let me know that. Thank you.